Hello students, let us discuss one more important physical factor which is very much important in the process of ventilation, that is alveolar surface tension. So part and parcel, as we have seen that in the process of ventilation, it is very much important to have the lung expansion, as we have to create the pressure gradient, and then only there will be the volume change which is possible, that we have seen in the first part of mechanics of ventilation. Now let us have a discussion regarding the physical factors which are going to oppose it, and what are the different mechanisms which are there present inside the body and the lungs respiratory system to overcome this. So the first physical factor we are going to discuss is surface tension. Now, why there is a surface tension is the first question which comes in mind. This is a structure which is of a normal alveolus, which is having an interface. There inside the alveolus we have the air, and the alveolar fluid is lining the inside of the alveoli. It is covered by two types of cells, alveolar type 1 cells and type 2 cells. So there is an interface of air and liquid inside the alveoli. So we can see here there is a fluid which is present, and here we have the air. So there is an interface, and due to interface, the surface tension is created. That is surface tension which we are going to discuss in this particular session. Now we also can see there is a layer in between which is formed by surfactant. So here between the fluid and the air interface, there is a layer which is seen by the molecules, that is known as surfactant. And this particular surfactant is going to help in reducing this surface tension. So how it is going to happen? Now what exactly is surface tension? Whenever there are liquid molecules over the surface, they will always try to contract. They will always pull themselves together, and that is happening at air-liquid interface. So it is not mixed up with the air. So whatever liquid molecule which is present, they will trying or attracting towards each other. So these attraction, the force generated by these pulling the surface molecules together of a liquid is termed as surface tension. Now there is a thin layer of surfactant which we have seen in the previous slide that lines the inner surface of the alveoli and alveoli which are filled with air, and this thin layer of surfactant that is very much important in reducing this force known as surface tension. The surface tension at the air-liquid interface in the lung alveoli is a major factor that influences the lung compliance. So lung compliance is the distensibility of the lung. So how much distensible the lung is, that is an important factor in ventilation, and this factor is dependent on surface tension. This surface tension is generated at the lung alveoli. And this is an important factor which accounts for half of the elastic recoil of the lungs. So we have seen in the mechanics of respiration that there is a tendency of the lungs to have an inward elastic recoil. And this elastic recoil of the lungs, more than 50%, is due to the process of surface tension. And why there is a surface tension? Because the liquid molecules are attracted towards each other. So this is how the liquid molecules are attracted with each other. You can see that there are molecules, and these all molecules will try to attract with each other. So they will try to come closer, and that strong attraction at the surface will create a force that is known as surface tension. So it is the force exerted by water molecules on the surface of the lung tissue, as those water molecules are always pulling together. So when the water surface is attempting to contract, it tends to force out the alveoli. So whatever air which is present in the alveoli, it will try to force out, and that will cause the collapse of alveoli. So thus it is a very important factor which affects the lung distensibility. Now, as we have seen the circular structures as the alveoli, which are connected like a tube-like structure, the bronchioles, if they follow the Laplace's law. And for these circular structure, the Laplace's law is pressure, which is collapsing pressure, is directly proportional to twice the surface tension and inversely proportional to radius. So the pressure, the collapsing pressure is directly proportional to surface tension. So when the surface tension increases, the pressure increases and there will be more number of alveoli which are going to collapse. If the surface tension decreases, the collapsing pressure also decreases and then the alveoli will not try to collapse. So this is how the Laplace's law is followed by these tiny alveoli. Now, what will happen if the alveoli collapse? When the alveoli will collapse, they will pull water in the blood like a vacuum action. So there will be no air. Air will be moved out, and instead of air, they will suck inside the water, which is present in the blood, because the capillaries are very much close to each other. That creates a condition which is known as pulmonary edema that also increases the respiratory membrane thickness. And due to these two factors, the exchange of gases becomes difficult. So the gas exchange, which was possible through this respiratory membrane, now as the thickness of the membrane is increasing, that becomes difficult. Now, the effect of radius on the collapsing pressure. So, what we have is 300 millions of alveoli are there, and they are of unequal sizes. Now, imagine two alveoli which are adjacent to each other. So, the first alveoli is not ventilated well because there is a block. Now, this underventilated alveoli will be decreasing in the radius because it is not ventilated. So the radius will not be changed. So it goes on decreasing. As the radius decreases, it follows the Laplace's law. So the collapsing pressure will increase and further decrease in the radius occurs, and thus the alveoli will collapse. So what happens is those alveoli which are smaller in size, which are underventilated, goes on decreasing in the size. Now imagine there is again two alveoli. When the first alveoli is not well ventilated, the air is diverted to the second alveoli, which is well ventilated. So nearby there are two alveoli. One is small, one is large, one is not ventilated, other one is ventilated, well ventilated. So whatever ventilation which was diverted to the small first alveoli, it will be now diverted to the well ventilated. And that increases the size of that second alveoli and it goes on hyperventilated, which is increasing in the radius. So that also decreases the collapsing pressure. So what happens due to this, the smaller alveoli tends to become smaller, smaller and smaller, and they will be collapsing. They will thus will not be helpful in the process of exchange of gases. And the larger alveoli, due to this inequality in the size, becomes larger, larger, and then also that will create a problem. So that is again a great problem. So it happens due to the law of Laplace. So you can see there are two adjacent alveoli, and as they are formed, they follow the law of Laplace. The stability will not be maintained. So the smaller alveoli will be becoming smaller again, and the larger alveoli will be larger again if there is no surfactant. So this particular figure is showing two figures, two parts of this figure. The without surfactant, the stability of the alveolar size is not maintained. And imagine there are 300 millions of alveoli, and each has to work properly if you have to have the exchange of gases normal. So if this is going to happen, then the change of the size, inequality of the alveolar size will create problem in exchange of gases. But due to the presence of surfactant, this will not happen, and they will try to maintain the size of the alveolar. That we are going to see in the next slide. So this is again the explanation of the same one. The large alveolus will be having this particular with a large radius will have a low collapsing pressure, and there will therefore will require only minimum pressure to keep it open. So it will require very less pressure. Whereas small alveolus will have a high collapsing pressure and requires more pressure to keep it open. So that is the difference, and we have to think of these sizes, unequal sizes of the alveoli. Now, if the small alveoli will be lined with some agent that reduces the surface tension, and here we are going to discuss the role of surfactant. If it is lined by surfactant, then the high collapsing pressure in the smaller alveoli will be changed to low collapsing pressure, and the size of the alveoli will be maintained. So this is how it is helping. Now these alveolar collapse is normally happening due to unequal sizes of the alveoli, but there are mechanisms which prevent this collapse. The first one is there are channels which are known as pores of Ohn, and the second important factor is surfactant. Now these protective mechanisms are to prevent the alveolar collapse. So there are pores of Ohn. So air can move from one alveoli to other alveoli, and due to that, the inequality which was created will be prevented, and it prevents the collapse of air also. So in this particular figure, we can see there is a small opening between these two adjacent alveoli, and due to this small opening, the air can be transferred, and that can have a small change or stability to the alveolar size. Now, coming to the second important factor which protects the alveoli from collapsing is the surfactant, which is very much important, very commonly asked question also. So it is the surface active agent that can greatly reduce the surface tension of water. It is treated by type 2 alveolar epithelial cells, which are cuboidal cells. They are formed by major phospholipids. 90% of them are lipids only. Along with that, apoproteins are there, albumin is there, immunoglobulin A, and some ions are there. So the composition is that. The most important component is dipalmitoyl phosphatidylcholine, which is known as DPPC, surfactant apoproteins, and calcium ions. So these are the most important component of the surfactant. The apoproteins are surfactant proteins which are known as ABCD, and the production of surfactant begins in the 24th week of the gestation, and it goes on very slowly till 34th week. In the 34th week, there is production of cortisol, which goes on increasing at that particular level. And due to this cortisol, it stimulates the production of surfactant. And then after 34th week, the process of production of surfactant will be increasing. So these are the very much important factor in the synthesis of surfactant. As we have seen that the special type of organelles, they are present in the type 2 alveolar cells. They are known as laminar bodies. These laminar bodies will consist of surfactant proteins and phospholipids. These materials are synthesized normally in the endoplasmic reticulum, and they will be stored in the laminar bodies. So the synthesis starting from 24th week of gestation. Then after the storing, they will be released to the surface by the process of exocytosis. On the surface, in the presence of surfactant proteins and calcium ions, they will be arranged in a meshwork, and which in turn converts the surfactant into surfactant, and then a layer of the surfactant will be formed in between these air and liquid interface, which we have seen in the first slide. So this is how the formation of surfactant occurs. And this is what is there. So what we have is these are the lamellar bodies. These are type 2 cells, and they will be having the lamellar bodies inside the endoplasmic reticulum. Then they will be secreted, and with the tubular myelin, they will be forming a meshwork. And with the apoproteins and surfactant proteins, they will be forming a layer. So in between the layer will be formed as a surfactant layer. So here it is a air space, here it is a fluid space, and in between that a film of surfactant will be layered. How this surfactant is going to help in reducing the surface tension. Why there is a secretion? Because it is trying to prevent the lung collapse, which is occurring due to surface tension. Now, the surfactant has two parts, hydrophilic and hydrophobic. The hydrophilic part interacts with the water molecule, and due to the surface tension, it pulls the layer of water upside. And due to that, there is a decrease in the surface tension. So it has two parts, hydrophilic part and hydrophobic part. So the hydrophilic part will be interacting with the water molecules which are present in the fluid layer at the alveoli. And that pulls the layer of water upside. And thus it decreases the surface tension. So if the radius of alveoli is small and if there is a surfactant, then what happens is, as there is a surfactant, it causes less surface tension and the collapsing pressure, even in the small alveoli, will be less, as we have seen earlier also. If there is no surfactant, then the smaller alveoli goes on decreasing in size and that increases the collapsing pressure and thus it can lead to collapse of the alveoli. So this is how the formation and secretion of the surfactant occurs. Now, what are the functions of surfactant? First, as we have already discussed, that it reduces the surface tension and thus prevents in the very important factor, that is collapsing tendency of alveoli. And thus it also helps in the process of maintaining the lung compliance. It is also responsible for stabilization of alveoli. So the size of the alveoli will be stabilized. And due to that, it also decreases the work of breathing. The surface protein A and D, they destroy the bacteria and virus, and thus they help in defense mechanism. So these are the four important factors or functions of surfactant. Now, how and what are the factors which regulates the synthesis and secretion? The first and the most important factor is hormonal factor, as we have discussed that at the 34th week, the glucocorticoid hormone was secreted and that was stimulating the surfactant synthesis. So cortisol is very much important in stimulating the surfactant synthesis along with the thyroxine. So thyroxine also promotes the surfactant synthesis. And insulin also helps in facilitating the surfactant synthesis. So these are the three important hormones which are going to stimulate and control the synthesis and secretion of surfactant. Then the quantity and quality of proteins also are going to regulate the synthesis. The formation of the phospholipid film of surfactant is affected by the proteins. The surface proteins are albumin, the immunoglobulin, and the apoprotein. So there are three types of proteins. And the surfactant proteins are actually of four types, as we have seen A, B, C, D. The B and C are important for the synthesis of monomolecular film of phospholipids, whereas A is controlling the reuptake of surfactant. So these B and C are important for formation of phospholipid, and A is important for control of reuptake of surfactant. The protein content of the surfactant depends on concentration of protein in the plasma. So the plasma protein concentration is very much should be in a normal range, then and then only the quantity and quality of the proteins in surfactant will be maintained. The third important factor affecting is stretching of lungs. Hyperinflation of lungs like yawning enhances the surfactant synthesis. So it has been proved that if you do the hyperinflation of lungs, then it helps in the surfactant synthesis. So many of the research work has shown that yawning and sighing during the infancy are very effective stimuli for the synthesis of surfactant, helping in the synthesis of surfactant. So you must have observed in your family also that these babies, they always have the yawning and sighing, and that creates an hyperinflation, which is an effective stimuli. These have been proved facts by research. The slow pranayama technique also stretches the lung parenchyma and that potentiates the synthesis of surfactant. Some pharmacological agents like beta-adrenergic agonist that enhances the surface tension. Calcium also stimulates the surfactant secretion. The practice of regular physical exercises also affects the synthesis. So these are the regulatory factors. Now, what are the abnormalities or applied factors which are related to the synthesis and secretion and functions of these surfactants? As we have seen that the complete secretion of the surfactant, it occurs before 34th week. So if the baby born is before 34th week, the surfactant production will not be complete. So amount of surfactant will be less. There will be more surface tension in the alveoli and there is collapse of alveoli. And due to that, there is a problem in ventilation. So these babies will require mechanical ventilation. So they will be having a tendency, extreme tendency to collapse. So they are not able to expand. And this particular disease is known as infant respiratory distress syndrome, which is very common. And normally it is fatal, very commonly, if not treated with strong measures. So especially we have to immediately give the positive pressure breathing, that is mechanical ventilation. So we can have the treatment like you can administer phospholipids by inhalation after the mechanical ventilator or along with the mechanical ventilator. You can administer phospholipid by inhalation. Inhalation of synthetic surfactant can also be done, or you can go for glucocorticoid therapy. So these are the treatments which are available for IRDS. Again, one more important factor which is seen is that there is an atelectasis following surgery. So what happens is during deep breathing, the lungs are inflated to a large volume and the new surfactant molecules will be spread thoroughly on the alveolar surface. Whereas during shallow breathing, the spreading of surfactant is impaired. So if you are doing deep breathing, then even distribution of surfactant molecule will be there. But if you are doing shallow breathing, the spread will not be even. So the patients recovering from anesthesia after surgery are often encouraged to breathe deeply to enhance the proper spreading of surfactant on the alveolar surface so that it prevents the atelectasis, that is collapse of lungs. Also, practice of deep breathing techniques as slow pranayama can facilitate the surfactant synthesis and function. So, the patients after major surgeries recovering from anesthesia can be asked to have these techniques of breathing techniques that will help in the even distribution of surfactant molecules. So I think that is all regarding this one particular factor. Let us discuss in the next video the next physical factor. Thank you very much.